Hello world! Welcome back to another Tenable CTF 2022 write-up video. In this video, we'll be walking through the forensics challenge macroeconomics. Let's get into it. Someone at our company opened up this spreadsheet and we noticed some weird traffic. We suspect some data was exfiltrated. Can you help? So they give us a PCAT file and an Excel spreadsheet or XLSM file, whatever that means. I think the M stands for macro. So if we think there's a macro in there, what can we use? We can use Olay tools. Olay tools allows you to analyze the macros within Office documents. So let's go check it out. All right, so I already have the directory open over here, and let's go ahead and run Olay VBA on the important spreadsheet XLSM file. And look at that. There's an IOC right here, which is an indicator of compromise. And there's a URL. And then suspicious. Okay, so this is definitely suspicious, whatever this is, right? Now, I think that whatever this is doing, which is making callouts to this URL clearly, because why else would that be there? I think it'll be more clear what this is doing if we look at the PCAT file side by side with it. So let's go ahead and open up the PCAT file as well now. And we have HTTP traffic, and if we follow the TCP stream, we'll see that it's just a constant get with a hex string, and then the body has a random, well, what seemingly looks like a random string in it. So what does that tell us? Well, if we pull this over here, and we look back over here, we're going to notice that there's this mid str and then this code right here that are getting passed into this cipher function. Now the mid str, if you run this mid on temp str, it looks like the temp str is our little body right here, right? That's that little Unicode section that you get right here. And then the code looks like it's going to be a range of hex values. And I think that's going to be a random range of hex values, but I can't remember. But that's not important because the key thing to look at here is the cipher function. And if you come down, you'll notice that this text is being XORed with a key. Now, where are they getting text and key from? Well, text and key are what are being passed into the cipher function. Text is our body string right here. And then key will be our little get string right here. So you don't have to necessarily know Visual Basic to understand what's going on here. You just need to know how to follow the variables and the basic operations, essentially, right? So, in theory, if we XOR this chunk of hex with this chunk of ASCII, we should get something. Hopefully our flag. So, that being said, we need to actually collect this data and this data. So, we can do that with tshark, and I already have the commands prepped for us. So we're going to collect the UI query first. So we'll get the keys first. And how we're doing that? Well, we're getting E. In fact, I can show you this in Wireshark. We're trying to grab that hex portion, right? The request. So how do we get that? Well, we can filter by request query right here to see what we need to set it to. So yeah, we're trying to get the HTTP request URI query. And that's how we're getting it, is we're just grabbing that column and then we're saying wherever it's not equal to nothing, because we want to make sure that it's populated so we don't get extra new lines. Okay, so we're able to press enter with that. And there you go, there's all your hex keys. Now, for the other one, let's go ahead and clear. The text is in the OK response packets. So we're going to, right here, line-based text data. That's what we want right there. So we're going to try to, actually, no, we want the file data. That's right. Apply that as a filter. And so now we have this, and then we're going to do the same thing we did with the HTTP request URI query, except we're going to substitute that in for HTTP file data. So let's go ahead and grab that. I have it already be written over here. So we'll do paste on that. And there you go, you have all those. Now you can take those out and use the little Notepad++ tricks I've been showing you throughout the various challenges on the channel to kind of narrow it down and get it into an array, because what we're gonna do now is we're going to loop through all of these one by one from both lists of items, right? Because this first item will be XORed with this first item, right? Like each one will be XORed one by one with the other one, or its corresponding request and response, right? So let's go ahead and open up our Kali box, and I'll go ahead and maximize this. I'll drag this over here because I have a solve.py script already prepared for us. And we'll open it in the background. And now let me walk you through what this is doing. So we're importing Pwn, and you'll see why here in a second. But basically, I took all the little ciphers. Those are from the body, right? The body of the HTML responses. And you'll see that I made them into byte strings. All you have to do is put a B next to the string. And then I took all the hex keys, and I didn't put the B next to them because you'll see why here in a second. And then I loop through the length of the ciphers. It doesn't matter which one you pick, both will work. And then what I do is I XOR the bytes from the hex strings, right? So I convert these hex strings into their ASCII bytes. So they're going to look something like this, only they're probably going to have unreadable characters with them. And then I XOR it with these ciphers at I, because it's, you know, whatever index we're currently on. So this one will XOR with this one will XOR with this one will XOR with this one, and so on and so forth. Now, you may be wondering why there's a 0 to 8 here. Well, I'll show you, actually. We actually can just get rid of that part, and then we can run it as is. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. And you'll notice that there's a bunch of jargon text associated with it. Why is that? Well, if we go back to the Ole VBA stuff, you'll actually notice, and I think this is where I did, yeah. You'll notice it's a step of 8, so it's moving up 8. And each one of these characters is 16. So the XOR key is 8 bytes, but the ciphertext is 16, when really it just needs to be 8. So that means all we need to do is just hack off the latter half of the characters in the ciphertext, or each ciphertext chunk, and then we'll get the key we want. So all we have to do is you just do ciphers of I, which will get the whole string, and then we just slice it 0 to 8, which will be from index 0 to index 7. And that's how you do it. So that'll get the first half of these characters. Now, if we try running it, and I do .decode so it turns into strings and we don't have a bunch of escaped characters showing up as plain text, you get your flag, which is right here. Flag. Don't enable macros. So we can throw in a little comment here in case that's hard for you to see. Flag. Don't enable macros. And that will be your flag. All right. I know that was a bit confusing, but hopefully I explained it well enough for you to be able to understand it. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Turn on post notifications to get regular injections of cyber content directly into your feed. Check out our Patreon, join our Discord, and follow us on Twitter. Links in the description box down below. And leave any feedback or questions in the comments section down below. This is Almond Milk. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.